The movie begins as a boy named Charlie Furlong is playing hide-and-seek with his friends. As he hides inside a cabinet, he accidentally notices his dad getting intimate with another woman. This petrifies the boy so much that he becomes temporarily blind. Ever since that day, Charlie goes blind for 37 minutes. If he even thinks about a coitus even on his honeymoon night, he goes blind, which stuns his wife. Years pass. And we get to know that Charlie's son Philip has also been cursed with a strange ability. Every time he is frightened or anxious, the electrical appliances near him will stop working. 20 years later, when Philip's wife goes into labor, she panics and collapses on the field. Strangely, when her pregnant belly touches the ground, all the greenery around her starts to wither away. In the next scene, Philip eventually arrives at the scene and drives his wife to the hospital. But along the way, he becomes so scared that the car breaks down. This leaves him with no choice but to deliver the baby himself. Philip uses his expertise from the cow farm and successfully rescues his son. But unfortunately, his wife is not so lucky. She passes away due to extreme exhaustion. Cut to 10 years later, we see the boy, whose name is James Furlong, living in the countryside with his dad and grandmother. His grandfather Charlie died in an accident when he suddenly turned blind. It is revealed that he accidentally noticed an erotic poser which rendered his vision useless. Realizing that the Furlongs have been cursed, James's sweet grandmother always advises him to be a normal kid and stay out of trouble. But instead of listening to her, he does the exact opposite. James is desperate to discover the supernatural power within him, so he often partakes in daring stunts. One day he wears a Superman costume and rides his bicycle at full speed. James wants to check if he can fly, and the costume is totally necessary for this. But unfortunately, the bike falls, and he ends up getting injured later. His dad Philip goes to the farm and discovers that all of their cows have mysteriously died. Coincidentally, this is the same spot where James had crashed earlier. "Ah, you can't fly, kid. You can only kill cows." So in a fit of rage, Philip returns home and starts scolding his son. When the scared boy hides inside the car, James forces him out and slaps him, causing him to fall to the ground. At this moment, the greenery around James starts to die before Philip can comprehend what's happening. He experiences excruciating pain and passes away. Even poor grandma dies a horrible death inside the house. In the aftermath, James is forced to move to an orphanage because he has always been pampered and homeschooled. He immediately becomes the subject of bullying by other kids. Only one boy named Liam is kind to him, and they quickly become friends. One day, as James is preparing to take a shower, the bullies attack him and throw his soap out of the window. They then force him to climb down and retrieve it. Suddenly, a dog approaches James and growls at him. This scares the poor boy so much that he runs away, screaming as far as dropping the soap goes. That could have been worse. The following morning, the principal of the orphanage gathers all the students and delivers a bombshell. Herbal of a dog died under mysterious circumstances last night. The angry principal now blames the bullies, as they are the ones who are always causing trouble around the place. Because of this accusation later, the enraged bullies gang up on James and start beating him up. One of them even hits the poor boy with a baseball bat. Liam tries his best to stop them, but to no avail. Just when it appears that James is going to get killed, his superpowers kick in. All the boys around him, even Liam, suddenly begin writhing in pain. They collapse to the ground, one after another, and pass away. James, horrified by what he has done, and quickly gets up and flees the place. Meanwhile, Liam is the only boy who manages to survive, as he fled the scene in the nick of time. Nonetheless, he is left with severely damaged lungs. Cut to several years later, we see a girl named May at a hospital. She is terminally ill, and the doctors have informed her that it is only a matter of time before she passes away. Not wanting to die in the hospital, May puts on some makeup and sneaks outside. She runs into Liam, who is also being treated in the same ward. It turns out his damaged lungs have still not healed properly, and they have resulted in cancer. He tries to engage in a conversation with May, but she ignores him and runs into the nearby woods. After walking for a few hours, she arrives at a location where all the greenery and vegetation have died. Moreover, not even a single trace of animal life is present there at the same time it begins. So May rushes to a nearby cabin. She knocks on the door, and the person who opens it is none other than James. It is revealed that ever since the incident at the orphanage, James has isolated himself from the rest of the world, fearing that he may kill more people. Even in this instance, he tells May to go away and slams the door on her face, but when she begs to be let inside as it is raining, he reluctantly agrees that night. James lets me sleep in his cabin. This is the first time in years he is interacting with another human. The following morning, they have a little chat, realizing that James is nervous. May hands over her Walkman to him. James promptly puts on the headphones and listens to some music. He is immediately overwhelmed with emotions, as he hasn't heard anything other than the forest in years. To return the favor, James cooks or a meal, which she finds very tasty later. May decides to take a swim in a nearby lake. James brings her a towel, but becomes embarrassed when he sees her semi-naked. After a while, the two sit for another round of chat, and May shares about her condition. James, who has been isolated from the outside world for too long and doesn't even know what cancer is. Nonetheless, he hopes that she can recover as soon as possible. The two then stare at the beautiful sky and spend some hours there in the next scene. May finally decides to return to the hospital, so she bids James goodbye and departs. After a few minutes, James realizes that she has forgotten her Walkman. He rushes out to give it back, but in his haste slips and falls down a hill. As James is knocked unconscious, the vegetation around him starts to die. Fortunately, May arrives at the scene and tends to his injuries. She promptly wakes him up and starts walking him back to his cabin. James, who is bleeding slightly, is shocked to learn that May is not hurt. It's almost as if she is immune to his powers. On the other hand, May's mom and the authorities finally start looking for her. Liam directs them towards the woods, and a massive search begins. When May hears her mom calling from a distance, she quickly hides inside a tree with James. The latter wants her to return to her mom and continue her treatment. But May doesn't want to leave James alone, as he is injured at this point. It is evident that both of them have fallen in love with each other this same night after returning to the cabin. May tries to help James with his wounds, but he keeps distancing himself from her when asked what's the matter. James finally reveals his condition. He recalls the past where he accidentally killed his family, an innocent dog, and then several boys in an orphanage. James further reveals that when he escaped the orphanage, he was very young, so he didn't know how to take care of himself. He impulsively ate a wild berry in the woods and got sick. Fortunately, a hunter rescued him before he starved to death. The hunter then brought him to this cabin and took care of him like his own son. James, time and time again, warned the hunter to stay away from him, but to no avail. Then one day, the inevitable happened. When James got out of the cabin, he saw the hunter's lifeless body on the ground. This devastated him so much that he made the decision to isolate himself from the rest of the world. Hearing all this, May sympathizes with James as she realizes that he has become the victim of his own powers. That he then spent the cold night together, where James offers his jacket to May in the morning. When he wakes up, he realizes that she has already left. Surprisingly, when James gets out of the cabin, he discovers some living plants and even birds. Meanwhile, May finds her way back to the hospital and lies that she got lost while trying to catch some fresh air. However, Liam eventually finds out the truth when he spots James's red jacket. He warns her about the boy, saying James is a dangerous person, but May does not want to listen. Enraged, Liam heads outside and explains everything to the cops when they don't believe him either. Liam throws a tantrum so bad that he has to be sedated a few days later. James sneaks inside the hospital looking for the love of his life. He accidentally sees Liam though, but the latter is too weak to move. Shortly after, James finally reaches May's room, and they end up having intercourse that night. The next morning, something miraculous happens. All the sick and diseased people in the hospital start getting healed. The blind start to see, the handicapped start walking, and the cancer patients are no longer in danger. Even Liam is cured of his lung infection. And all James had to do was get laid using this opportunity. Liam grabs scissors and starts looking for James, hoping to get revenge. On the other hand, as all the patients are out in the hallway, May puts a gown on James and the two follow the crowd. Unfortunately, along the way, they get separated. It is at this moment Liam finally spots James and starts blaming him for the past incident. In a fit of rage, he chases James outside the hospital, where the two get into a tussle. Sadly, amidst the tussle, James is stabbed in the stomach the moment he starts bleeding. Everything around him starts to wither away here. We get to know that James's special powers are influenced by his mood. If he is happy or lucky, everything around him starts to blossom. But when he is sad or scared, only bad things happen. Realizing what he has done, Liam quickly runs away from there and at the same time May also arrives scared that he might end up killing her as well. James runs away and dives into a river. May also jumps in as he doesn't know how to swim. She holds him underwater and kisses him passionately, but by this time poor James is already dead as he slowly drowns into the depths of the river. The greenery around him begins to rise again. James's death finally brings into the mysterious Furlong family. The movie then cuts to 5 years later, where May is seen reciting a story to a little girl. She is none other than May and James's daughter, and she's probably gonna cause a lot of people to die. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.